So the most important thing, and people never understand this, but like you actually have to craft your personality. Like what most people do is they're affected by the world around them. So their parents tell them things, their teachers tell them things, they see stuff on TV, they see stuff on the news, and their whole personality is formed without any real input from them about who they would like to be and like what they would like to be in life. So the problem with that is you're leaving your whole future up to chance. But then people are like, well, I don't know how to create, like how do I craft a personality? How do I craft, the traits that make me successful? Like if I want to make more money, let's just use money because people can count it, right? You have to say, okay, what is the identity of the kind of person that makes the amount of money that I want to make? So you have to do a little bit of research. Number one, you have to study. Like you have to go look. Most people are like, oh, I'll just figure it out on my own. I'm telling you, man, it's the dumbest way to do anything, to just hope that you're going to figure it out. And the interesting thing is it's not actually that hard. Like go to events where wealthy people get together and talk about making money. Watch, be quiet and just watch people. You notice like, okay, wealthy people tend to speak a certain way. They typically have good grammar. They are very capable of speaking about high-level things regarding money, about setting up multiple companies and getting business credit and blah, blah, blah. They also do very specific things with their time. Like I was talking to somebody in one of our companies the other day, and I asked him, I was like, what is your morning routine like? And he's like, well, to be honest, I don't really have a morning routine. I was like, okay, so when you wake up, you just start looking at stuff? Like you just start answering chats and stuff? And he said, yeah. And I was like, how are you ever going to be in control of your financial future if you don't control what you're doing on a daily basis? Because if the first thing you do every single day is you just start looking, oh, I've got all these messages, now I have to respond. Your whole day is being dictated by what other people want from your time. People who are very successful and people who are very happy have control. They feel like they're in control of the majority of the variables that exist in their life on a day-to-day basis. So a great way to do this is say, okay, if I want to make 5 times more money than I currently am, and I don't have 5 times more time to make that money, what are the things that somebody who makes 5 times more money than me, what are they doing? How do they run their day? How do they prepare for meetings? How do they negotiate? How do they do these things? And the craziest thing about this, and the most disappointing part about when you really look at how people live their lives, is it's actually really easy. You figure out what it is that makes you a successful person, whether that's your finances or your health or your relationships, and then you repeatedly do it over and over and over again. Like if you want to build muscle, it's not that hard. You go to the gym, you pick up heavy weights, you go home, you eat healthy food, you get good sleep, and then you do it again the next day. So if you're in the situation where you're like, I want to make more money, figure out what it is that successful people do that you're not doing. And then repeatedly build your identity. And some of this, if you're like really new, you're like barely making any money, the hardest part of this is literally just doing it every single day and reinforcing it. I was just talking to somebody else and I was telling them every time I ask them to tell me what time it is they're going to be doing something, they're always wrong. They're like, oh, it'll take 20 minutes. And it usually takes 35, 45, 50 minutes, an hour and a half. It takes them way longer. I was like, you need to repeatedly tell yourself over and over and over again that you're always on time. Just keep saying it to yourself every single day, and eventually what'll happen is your brain will start figuring out for you how you can always be on time. The cool thing about the brain, there's something called the reticular activation system. What this part of your brain does is it looks for things. So if I buy a new car, I buy a new red Lamborghini, when I'm buying that car, I'm driving around, all of a sudden I start noticing other red Lamborghinis because a red Lamborghini is now an important thing in my mind. So when you make something important in your brain starts looking for ways to reinforce that that thing is important for you. So if you're like, oh, I'm always late to stuff, you'll start fulfilling that prophecy. You can, by the way, predict the future. It's just, it won't happen on your timeline. One of my mentors always used to say, and he still says this to this day, he says, your bank account will always be 2 or 3 years behind your progress. So like, don't think that you can do something for one day and all of a sudden you're now going to be a millionaire. I mean, sure, if you buy the winning lottery ticket, but you'd have a better chance at planning on getting hit by lightning than you would in winning the lottery. So there's a certain level of probability you should take into account. But the thing is, most people's goals, like if you want to be a millionaire, there's something like 220,000 new millionaires in America every day or something like that. Or every, not every day, every like year. So it's highly probable that you can do that if you create the identity of the kind of person that gets that result and you daily reinforce it. And some of you, you're like, okay, I've decided I'm now going to be a millionaire. And every day I say to myself, I am a millionaire, but nothing's happening. Well, you also have to do the things that millionaires do. This is why this whole like power of manifestation thing is so stupid. You can't just sit in a cave and say I'm a millionaire and it's just going to happen for you. You actually have to do something. So once you know what that personality is, what is the kind of person that deserves to be a millionaire, you then have to do those things. So if you're like in sales or you're negotiating deals and that's how you're going to make your money, you can't say that and then still act like a broke salesman while you're trying to please people, while you're, saying and doing all these stupid things that salespeople do. Most salespeople think building rapport is asking people about their kids. I just closed $1 million deal last week. I have no idea if the woman I did business with has kids. To be honest, the only reason I know she's married is because she just got married recently and she introduced me to her husband. So like, really successful people don't waste time on details that are totally irrelevant because maybe it builds rapport, maybe it does this. They focus on really providing value. And the reality is, Zig Ziglar said this a long time ago, it is such a simple framework, you never have to remember anything else. If you help enough other people get what they want, you can have everything that you want. So don't think that you're just going to get it because you want it. Provide value to people. And when you become so valuable that you deserve to be a millionaire, that you've earned being a millionaire, then you will. Just put the time in, but you have to start, first of all, find out what successful people do. Second of all, repeatedly reinforce that that's your new identity. And then finally, do the actual things that those people do until it happens for you in the real world. It's not that hard. You guys just, I don't know what it is. People think they've got to like fucking do all this dumb shit and like lie and cheat and steal. Making money is not that hard. You could 10 to 20x your revenue, your income this year, if all you do is just stop with all this nonsense and create that identity for yourself and commit yourself 100% to doing it. It's really that simple. That's it. I'm not gonna clap because